Welcome to the Stronger, Fitter, Happier podcast. I'm your host Vin, and today is our first episode back after a long break. On this episode, what you're going to be listening to and learning about is why we think that people don't take action on their goals and why people often fail to achieve their goals, and how you can use accountability to change that, and the types of accountability you can use to change that too. So if you do want to start taking action on your goals, if you want to stop failing, then this is an episode you definitely don't want to skip. Have a listen, let us know what you think, and I hope you find it useful. So last week, everyone's going to think that we just came back to the podcast this week, but last week was we sat down, recorded an episode. It got cut off short a little bit, but I think we needed to settle into it a little bit more. We had to blow the dust off the mics a bit, and we were a bit rusty on the podcast. So we decided that this week's topic is basically what we did last week. So we may reference things that you may not have heard from us before, but we're re-recording last week's episode that we recorded last week, this week.
Hopefully it comes out better this week, yeah?
Yeah, so we were a bit rusty basically last week, so we're going to be discussing the same thing again this week. And for those of you who obviously don't know where we've been or what we've been up to, we have been away from the podcast simply because of, I guess, time, isn't it? I've been a very busy man. We've had a new arrival to the family, so I've got another daughter, and just haven't really had time to sit down and record a podcast with the gang. But now we are back, and hopefully we are more consistent and bringing you weekly episodes, no matter how long or how short they are. And this time it won't just be me. Coach Sadie will be with us.
Hello, guys.
So she is head coach at Body and Beyond, and we've got Nikhil as well, who's in charge of like nutrition and coaching at Body and Beyond too.
Hey.
All right, so we'll get into the nitty gritty of this episode rather than talking and going on and on. So today's episode is all about why people don't take action. So you know what I'm on about, guys. When it comes to it, regardless of whether your goals are fitness-based, health-based, nutrition-based, or just generally things that you need to get done in life that are important to you, why people don't necessarily do the things that they know they need to. Yeah. They put it off, they procrastinate, they do whatever, but they don't take action. And why do you think that is, guys? Like, what, in your opinions, what do you think stops people?
Go on, Nikhil, you can go first.
I was actually just waiting for you to speak. I feel like things that have put me personally off from starting, and things that I've spoke to about people why they haven't started stuff, is a little bit of like the fear of starting, or fear of not knowing what's going to happen when you start, or even potentially having the fear of failure because you've done something before. And it might be the second time round that you go for it, and the first time you did it, you failed. So you don't want to go through that sort of rejection or that feeling where you failed again. Yeah. So a mixture of those.
Yeah. I definitely agree. And I also think it's always that first step, and that first like taking action is always the hardest bit. And me as well, personally, I think as well, the fear of it, of taking that first step is always the hardest. And once, like you guys know, once you've taken that first step, obviously it feels so much easier, but it's just that initial starting, isn't it? And that first initial step.
The thing is though, sometimes it's not even starting. It's like failing to finish even.
Yeah, so, that's true.
So sometimes people get started on a goal and they fail to kind of succeed.
And follow through.
Yeah, and to get to the end of like where they're trying to get to. So nutrition is the biggest, probably easiest one to kind of go with. Is like you start on a Monday, you do well, halfway through the week you fail and you stop. Like, so not necessarily just focusing on actually taking that first step and that first action step, but why do you think people like kind of don't continue really on their goals, or just fail on their goals?
I think it's having that accountability to keep going. If people don't have that or have support or whatever, staying on track and continuing working towards something, especially if it's quite challenging, can be really hard. So I think accountability is a big one there.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Like accountability is a huge factor in terms of people's success.
Yeah.
Like when you have it, it definitely like can really impact you to be, just take your results to another level. Actually, forget taking your results to another level, actually doing something. Do you get what I mean? Like actually getting to the next stage of where you are now. Like when you hit a barrier or you're just stuck in the same spot, like let's say, for example, you're trying to get to the next level of fitness for yourself, or you're trying to take it to another kind of point of, you know, in your life, or where it's your business or your career or whatever. Like having some sort of push or accountability can really motivate you and drive you forward.
Yeah,
and, accountability can come in multiple forms. Like a lot of people like hear the word accountability and they automatically think like a person or like something. It doesn't have to be something. Like what, like I look at when I think of accountability is like the ultimate one for me is probably like having like a strong motivator or a strong reason for why you're doing something, rather than like the accountability of like a person making you do something. External accountability is great. I'm not saying it's not important. It's definitely important. But internal accountability is just as equally important, maybe even more so important, because when your external accountability is gone, like let's say like a personal trainer who's with you at training sessions, who forces you to work out, is gone, and you're training on your own one day, your internal accountability, your internal motivation can keep you going.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, it's like someone coming, for us members coming to sessions, if they don't have that motivation outside of that with their nutrition and activity and whatever, they'll just end up falling off. So you kind of need, like you say, that's a really good point there. You definitely need that.
You got to have that like kind of fire as well with your internal accountability. So people will be like, oh, like how do you create internal accountability then? Well, to be fair, we can't teach you that. Like, Nikhil, what's your motivation for why you go to the gym? Put you on the spot there.
What's my motivation? Because I just want to be like the best version of myself later in life. I don't want to have sort of, you know, I want to be healthy later in life. Basically, it's the longevity. That's sort of my motivation. It's coming from a family that have like, you know, not the best health and ill health and things like that. I don't want to sort of fall down the same sort of route and things like that. So it's just basically, being the best me later in life. That's my motivation.
And you can't give that sort of accountability to someone.
You can't.
Like, you can't want it for them. So anyone listening to us talking about like, oh, you know, like I want to create some sort of accountability, we can teach you. We'll come to it. We could teach you like ways of creating external accountability. But self-accountability, like internal in you have to ask yourself, like, why do I actually want this? What is it that I want? What is it that is going to push me to do it? And that's more important than the external kind of systems and tools and people and whatever you're going to use to push you.
It can be quite uncomfortable to search for that inner reason within you though as well. Just as,
So what tips would you give to someone who's like, trying to look for an internal reason?
You have to dig deep, and it has to go past the superficial I just want to look good sort of thing. Like that's sort of the most like if I was to ask you, for example, or well, not you, but someone, what's your reason behind training? I want to look good. I want to feel better. Those are like sort of the superficial reasons. They have to get a little bit deeper than those reasons there. So it's about digging deep. Maybe write it down or journal it or something like that, or on the notes bit of your phone, just like literally write a paragraph to yourself why you want to change. That's sort of a good starter and a good little tip, I think.
I think the way we do it, go on, Sadie.
I was just going to say, and I think the more meaningful those reasons are and the more important they are to you, the better, because you're more likely to get it done and stick to it as well.
Yeah, I think the way we do it in our you know, like when people join us and we get them to really like if they don't have a strong reason why they can't join, basically. And when we do like consultations with people, this is one of the things that we literally drive home with people is we first ask them what their goals are, and they'll tell us that, you know, most people can easily come up with the goals, what they're trying to achieve. Then I say it literally in this way as well. So if someone's trained with us in the past and they've joined us, they'll know this line. So now the most important bit. Why do you want to achieve these goals? So you've got all these goals, they're really good, but why are they important to you? That's what we want to know. And then we go down the rabbit hole of trying to find their why. And most people come up with like, so say for example, my why is to lose weight. And they're like, oh, because I want to feel confident. I then ask, why do you want to feel confident? And then they're like, well, just so I can feel good about myself. And then I'm like, so why do you want to feel good about yourself? And then I have to like kind of intervene and go, you know, I don't want to annoy you. I know I'm asking why. It's probably self-explanatory, but I want to know in your words. So when they say stuff like, because I want to feel happy, like, or I you know, I want to feel good about myself. I'm like, why do you want to feel good? Obviously the answers are kind of pretty obvious, but everyone's got a different one. So when someone says I want to feel good about myself, they could come with because I want to feel like kind of confident and feel like happy about my body and be able to do the things I want to, like go out with my children or go swimming with my children, or you know, be closer with my husband, or all these things that they may not be saying when they're saying I want to lose weight, or they may not even be thinking about. And then that drives them to a more of a real why. And then reminding yourself of that creates internal accountability. So for example, one for me, not to do with like kind of this in terms of like health and fitness, but in terms of like life goals, one for me with work and what motivates me to keep going and stay up late and do the things I have to is you guys and family. So I think of, I have to like kind of be able to show up for Sadie so that, you know, she can do and achieve the goals she has for herself. Show up for Nichols because he's got goals, and if I don't execute on what I have to do in my part in terms of leading the team and doing the little bits that are behind the scenes, they can't do their bit, and if, you know, as a business we fail. Same thing with like, you know, providing freedom for my family, or freedom for like, you know, I have a goal of like not retiring my parents because that's not my responsibility, and as in it is something I would love to do, but they wouldn't do it, like in terms of they want to be have ownership of that, like in terms of they will stop working when they want to stop working. But what I mean is being able to be a part of that freedom for them, to be able to say, you know, like if you hate your job or you don't want to keep working until you're like 64 or whatever it is, you can stop because I can help out. You know, you've looked after me. That's something that I want to be able to do. And having that like at night, you know, when you're tired and you're, I'm going to go to bed instead of like do this little thing that I need to do for work. That's an internal motivation. I can turn to that every time I need that fire in my belly again. So keep asking yourself why. We've got to a long-winded way of getting here, but keep asking yourself why until you reach a meaningful reasons that gives you a fire in your belly and makes you want to go, like, I'm going for it. And that's how you create like kind of self-accountability.
Yeah. And that's how you stay motivated, isn't it, as well?
Yeah. People always asking, isn't it, like, how do you stay motivated? And I think going back to something Nikhil did, I actually thought of it straight away. You know, you hesitated when I asked you, why do you go? You don't think about why anymore, do you?
No.
You've been going for so long. You've been going to the gym so regularly for so long that you don't need to remind yourself of why you're doing it. Your why is what got you started. The routine that you created and the habits you've built is what keeps you going. It's not even like why is like for your days that you're just super low and you really can't be asked. But most days you don't even think about your why. You just do it because it's out of routine. Yeah. But that first initial bit of creating an accountability, like self-accountability, is what will get the ball rolling for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, really true.
So moving on to external accountability, what would you guys consider as external accountability? Things that are practical tips that we can actually give people to take away now.
I guess the most obvious one is a person, right? Or a buddy or a friend or a coach or in the form of a person. So that would be a really practical tip. And it doesn't always have to be like sort of hiring a coach or something like that. It could be literally doing something with your partner or a friend, for example, and you hold each other accountable. Like you formed a gym buddy, for example, or if you know a friend that's also sort of starting up a business and you're starting up a business, you can hold each other accountable and just, make sure that you've ticked off certain boxes and things that you said that you were going to do. Just a partner or a buddy, someone that you live with, wife, husband.
I definitely think that's a good point to make. There are a few caveats to that in terms of like when you can't just have a random person that doesn't, again, like, when you go to that self-accountability, the why and the meaningfulness, even with an external person, there needs to be some sort of meaningfulness. Because like a lot of people will say to their partner, I'm gonna diet and I'm gonna, lose some weight this year. And then they don't do anything because there's no.
Oh yeah, no, that person has to sort of be actively involved with you in some form or other.
And also you have to care about that other person caring about your goals.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Like sometimes like you can easily, for example, like let's say like eating chocolate in front of your personal trainer, maybe not that there's anything wrong with eating chocolate, just clarifying, there's nothing wrong with eating chocolate in front of your personal trainer, but that level of accountability, let's say you couldn't that day, you couldn't fit in the chocolate, but eating in front of your partner, there's even if they said, oh, you shouldn't really eat that, then you're like, I don't care, like, you don't care about them caring, but you may care about your personal trainer caring. So there needs to be that level of like care from that person if you're going to use another person for accountability. So for example, like I did this, I told the story on the podcast last week, but I'll tell it again because obviously no one's heard it. One big impactful like person in my life is my partner. She always kind of holds me accountable, and I don't mean in a negative way. I just mean she's someone who inspires me, supports me, and is always kind of there for me in terms of things that I want to achieve. And I think she knows like how to kind of push me as well to be motivated. And I'm always grateful to her for that. Hopefully she's in the other room, so hopefully she can hear all of this.
Hopefully she's listening,
But generally, like what I mean is, like one example I gave last week was about getting a house and moving out. And I always gave it the big talk, like when we were younger, like, we'll be able to move out together. And I'm very big about like, saying like when it's going to happen or dates and, giving like deadlines, because it motivates me personally to do something because I've said it and I'm trying to do it. But it's very easy to say stuff and not follow through. And she called me out on that. Like she said, like, like what's going on? Like, are we gonna move out? Like, because you said that we were going to do it and you made me believe we are. And I feel like it's not happening. And that, like her saying, like you said something and it's not happening now, made me want to take action. Like, it made me go, I'm going to pick up the phone and find out like whether we can like kind of afford a mortgage and that sort of thing. Because at the time it was me who was kind of stopping us from taking the next step. She was in a stable job. She was earning money. She could like apply for a mortgage quite easily and get information back. Like whether we could afford a house is a different story, but she could do all the steps to get us in a position to be able to take the next step forward. I was the one with my head in the sand going, I don't know if like, I could get a loan because like a mortgage because I'm self-employed. I don't know if this will happen. And I was scared of taking that next step. Scared of moving forward because I thought the answer would be, you basically are in an unstable job, unstable career, very early on in personal training, just me working by myself, that you can't get a mortgage. And that's what I thought. And that fear and that, scariness and that fear of unknown and uncertainty was all stopping me. but her accountability of saying, you know, you said this, you said we're going to do this. And there were other things that were held me even more accountable in terms of like, you know, moving forward. Like, do you want to have children? Like all these things that we wanted to do depended on me literally making a phone call to a mortgage advisor so that I can find out whether like I can take the next step forward. And if she had just stayed quiet and someone who was like, you know, I don't want to push him, I don't want to have uncomfortable conversations, I don't want to, you know, address fears. If she had been like how I was basically being, we wouldn't be here with 2 children in a house right now. Like, and to be fair, like I wouldn't be very far in life without Sophie anyway. She's taken no, but I mean it. Like, you need people who do hold you accountable and who do push you in life. Like, to have those key people in your life that really drive you forward. They can be your accountability people, and like it could be just your partner. Now, you, like I said, going back to the point of what we were talking about, those people have to also push you in those ways. Like when it comes to like body goals and fitness and stuff like that, my partner can do that for me if I told her about my goals. But at the same time, she doesn't really care about like that, unless I was like severely obese and unhealthy. She probably wouldn't step in. Like, she doesn't care whether I like have a 6-pack or have a bit of a dad bod. Like, it's not, maybe she does, but it's not it's not enough for her to go, you know, you need to sort out your body, you need to start going to the gym, like that kind of thing. So that level of accountability won't work for me and her. Whereas maybe with me and Nikhil, it may. Like, if we were going away together or that sort of thing, that level of accountability would work. And you need to search for those in those areas of your life where each accountability person can step in. How about you guys? Like, what have your experiences been like with accountability in terms of, it doesn't have to be people, it could literally be systems and tools, because we want to give practical advice. We've given the people person one, but can you think of any other experiences you've had with accountability that aren't maybe a person holding you accountable?
Mine was going to be a person, so I'm not sure if you want me to give that as an example.
Well, I see Nikhil thinking, so maybe give your person one, and then Nikhil can jump in with his...
So my accountability is more with work and my career and moving forward. And I use you, Vinay, as my person who kind of pushes me in kind of all aspects of my career. And obviously I wouldn't be where I am now without you pushing me and keeping me accountable. He's like, that's
not what I just felt awkward.
Oh, did you? Keeping me accountable. So like, I wouldn't be head coach of Body and Beyond if it wasn't for you pushing me in that direction and saying, okay, well, we said, like, for example, actually, you've said to me, okay, you want to have a meeting. We want to kind of move you on, like before when we were going on to being head coach. If you hadn't have said that to me and said, come on, Sadie, like, it's time to progress you in your career, I would have probably still just been doing the sessions and stuff like that. So I wouldn't have taken the next step in my career if it wasn't for you pushing me. Same thing with my course that I'm doing. There's no accountability there with the course. So you said to me, Sadie, give me a date that you'll have it done. So that gave me that little push, that motivation I needed to be like, okay, I need to knuckle down now. I need to get it done. So, so that's like my experience with my career.
And even holding someone accountable is a bit of an uncomfortable thing. Like, it's not easy for me to just go. It's basically a lot easier. One, accountability, to be held accountable is uncomfortable. Like, to ask for accountability is uncomfortable because you have to answer to someone. Like, now you've told me a date, and I won't put it on here, but like, you've told me a date of when you're going to finish this course that you're doing. And if you don't, you're going to have to feel uncomfortable telling me that, you know, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, from my position, it's uncomfortable to even tell you what to do. You know, I might be overstepping the mark. I may not, like, you know, that sort of thing I could just be easy and just, it's a lot easier for me to just leave you to be. And
but then I feel like
push you.
With certain things, then you don't move forward. Do you know what I mean? Like, so for example, me being head coach, I wouldn't have moved forward into that if you didn't give me that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But like you say, the person has to want the accountability from that person. So you needed to know if I needed that or not. kind of thing.
Yeah. Nico, have you thought of an external, external, but that's not a person?
Yeah, and a little bit more practical. It depends on the personality type, I suppose. And this is like, again, something that we've spoke about as a team as well, like our different personality types and how they work. So whereas I'm very much like a systematic person compared to you, Vinay, where sometimes, you know, not that you're not systematic, but sometimes you like to do things off, like sort of, you know, off the wing, like sort of,
I don't need loads of preparation. Yeah,
almost unplanned. And whereas I like things like literally planned out. Like a good example of this was me and Vinay were going to record videos, and I thought we were going to plan the videos out, sit down and talk about it. And he's like, "All right, you ready to go? We're just going to talk." I was like, "What?"
That sounds just like Vinay.
I was like, "Are we not at least going to discuss?" Yeah, are we at least not going to discuss what they're going to say? It's like, no, it's fine. We just went with it. But for me, that was really, really uncomfortable. But
yeah, I didn't know that at the time. I figured that out about you after. Otherwise, I would have been a bit more. I literally wrote a title for each. So this is for Beyond the Diet. Yeah. So each topic that we're going to record, wrote the title on the sheet, and that's it. I was ready. Was it. So I was like, so we're talking about, I don't know. One of the things was metabolism. That's it. I just wrote, what is the metabolism? And I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's record. It's like, cool, what are we saying? Like, what points are we going to make and stuff like that? Yeah.
Anyway,
I've been through that with Vinay.
That's a little bit of a tangent, but yeah. So my personality is very much like systematic, having things down and things. So I think a really practical tool is having, especially if you're trying to form a new habit or start something new, is having some form of tracker or something where you can sort of tick things off, or a list or something like that. And I get on really well with that. And I have a bit of like a, not OCD, but if I see like a calendar with all days crossed off on it, I know that I don't want to mess up my crosses. So it will get done just because I'm going to cross that next day, just for that sort of visual thing and the self-accomplishment that you get from it. So filling out like my tracker with my coach, for example, I get like a real thrill out of it, not having any days missing or anything like that. It's just something that I enjoy, and for the right person, it can work.
Yeah. To be fair, like even for me, like, even though I'm like not the type of person that likes to work with like big organization, well, obviously there is organization to what we do, but I mean, like the fine details don't matter in terms of like little points to me. It's still really useful. Like, I think for anybody, having like systems and tools like tracking sheets or trackers or habit trackers or whatever it is, just making sure you're like, whether it's ticking a box or whatever it is, like crossing off things on your to-do list, anything you don't like kind of write down and stuff, like you're never gonna want to get it done. So I guess definitely works really well.
Yeah, visually seeing it down on paper really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So those are things that you could implement: having a person, having systems, having like tools like trackers and habits and things like that. Brilliant. What I was going to say was, what we've touched on it already. We've spoken about it quite a few times, but what do you think stops people from even accepting accountability or searching for accountability in terms of like taking it on board? Like, why do you think people avoid it? Because a lot of people do avoid it. They don't want to look at it. Or
I think it's uncomfortable. Like, sometimes looking at it and taking a step and getting that accountability can be uncomfortable, and the fear of it, like we mentioned earlier, the fear, it's scary. Like, taking that first step, and like that's a great point, the truth of it as well. So I think that's why.
I think everyone listening to this will have something they can think of right now that they're putting off. So there's something on their mind right now that they can instantly think of that they're not doing, that they know if they do will take them to another stage of their life or their goal or whatever it is. There's something that's uncomfortable they're thinking of. Like, Nikhil, do you want to share one? Sadie, do you want to share one?
I'm trying to think right now.
But there's something you're probably thinking of that's holding you back from, achieving something that you desperately want to achieve. But it's just stopping you. And usually, what was it? Sadie, go on.
I was going to say, have you got one that you can share?
Potentially.
Come on, spill it.
it's something that's probably I can't speak about on the podcast, so I won't share it here. But what it does is it normally causes you discomfort and pain, like you were saying. It makes you feel like, ooh, I don't want to do it, because it's like you kind of bury your head in the sand. You just put it off because it's something that is just going to cause you so much discomfort and fear and scariness, and all these feelings of like almost anxiety like feelings that just you don't want to face. The problem is they will always be there until you face them. And it's that we said this literally on the podcast last week, is even though where you are right now, let's say for example someone who's desperately wants to change their fitness, their health, and their body shape and size or whatever, because they just don't like where they are right now. Even though that is uncomfortable and not somewhere where they want to be, it's more comfortable than the unknown of the changes they have to make. So like they think or they perceive that maybe the gym, going to the gym or having a personal trainer or having to look at their nutrition or stand on the scale is all going to be more uncomfortable than staying where they are now. And that's a perception they have. They've built it up, and it could be related to anything. Like people do it with finances when they're in money trouble. They don't want to look at their bank account and go through their statements and see where they're spending money. It always happens. And the problem is that kind of like, if you stay in that fear bit of, like staying in that uncomfortable bit that you are now and not moving through the process of like that micro bit of like what's even more uncomfortable, what you perceive to be more uncomfortable, you're never going to break through that. You're always going to be stuck where you are now. And that bit of discomfort that you're going to move through is not actually going to be that long. The best example of this is like Will Smith's video about fear, about jumping out an aeroplane. You build up the fear of like actually jumping from the night before, the time you go up to the plane, the moment you're going to jump out of the plane, and then for like a microsecond of when you jump, you're very scared, and then you're like falling and enjoying the moment of it. And I know that's not how it works in most goals, because you do have to go through the discomfort for some time. For example, when you go to the gym for the first time, that first session is quite scary. The build up to walking up the steps to go into the gym door is scary. The training and thinking about other people maybe thinking about you is scary. Then having to change your nutrition is uncomfortable and difficult and challenging maybe for a lot of people. And then continuing with it is sometimes hard. And I know I'm talking people out of it almost, but that bit is very short in the grand scheme of things.
That's what I was going to say,
So once you move through it and you're in your free flow and you're going regularly and you're doing it and you're reaping the rewards and you're seeing changes to your body, you're seeing strength improvements, fitness improvements, you can play with your kids without getting out of breath, all these wonderful things that are going to come from taking the uncomfortable step. Once you do that, like you're flying, you just need to take that first step, isn't it? Or keep going even.
Yeah.
Because we said at the start, it's not even like some people struggle to get started. It's about continuing.
Yeah, exactly.
And going back to that, the continuing bit, I guess having like external accountability is what helps people probably continue. The internal accountability is what probably helps you get started. Yeah. And I think that proves that accountability is really important and super useful for you to really smash through your goals and like just take it.
Definitely.
What is there anything you guys would like to add to what we've spoken about?
I was just going to give an example actually of, I think I did say this last week on the podcast, but you guys wouldn't have heard it. Just an example of how something in your head and the build up and that process before can feel so scary, but once you've done it, actually, it's like kind of a bit of a relief. And it's like, Vinay, when I was saying to you last week about me contacting the mortgage advisor. So in my head, I built it up and the fear of not being able to, or not hearing what I wanted to hear, was stopping me from taking that action of just making one phone call. And once it was done, I actually remember saying to Vinay, oh, it wasn't that bad. Like, oh, I don't know why I built it up in my head, because it wasn't that bad. And I was so glad that I just made that first step and got over the fear, because it took me, how long, Vinay, to make that phone call? A long time.
Probably a year.
Exactly. And a year is a very long time. And I could have known a year ago and already started working towards what I found out now. Do you know what I mean? So I just wanted to give an example there of how actually don't let the fear stop you, basically, from taking that first step.
Otherwise, what you're going to do is end up regretting that you didn't start sooner.
Exactly. Which is what I do.
And I think, Nico, unless there's anything you want to add, I think that's a great point to end on.
No, that's, yeah.
Yeah. So we were going to do a little Q&A at the end. We did ask on Instagram if you had any questions, but people just said, when am I going to shave? So,
Saw that.
yeah.
When are you going to shave?
Probably after this now.
I thought you were
insecure.
You're not growing it out?
Well, I thought, my daughter's not going to get to go to a grotto this year, so I'll do a grotto.
Oh, yeah, do it, man.
I'm joking. That's not why I was growing a beard.
I think it suits you, a longer beard. I don't know what people are talking about.
Well, not everybody has that opinion. But anyway, I tend to like it, so I will keep it.
Good.
Yeah. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed that episode. I hope you found it useful, guys. Please leave us a review wherever you're listening to this on. If you're watching a video version on YouTube or on Facebook or on Instagram, leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought. And I hope you tune in next week. We'll be back. So we're over and out. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.